Hi guys, I'm excited to have you all here. So now let's begin. We're going to be making two wigs, one curly and the other, the green one, blunt. Okay, now this is how you begin. First off, you have to hot comb your closures to, make sure that there's no hair coming your way. And then secondly, we go into bleaching of the knots. You have to bleach your knots to be able to customize it and let it look like the skin. Okay, it has to have this brown color. This is the bleaching process. You have to pour your bleach powder. Okay, so that's what you're seeing me pour, and then you add your developer. For your developer, you need to add it little by little, okay, so that you don't over pour it. Now you want to mix this to get this paste form. Okay, it has to look like a paste, that the toothpaste that we use. That's when you know that okay, you have mixed it properly, and then you apply this mixture on your closure. Okay, now when you're applying this on your closure, you don't need to press it down. You have to gently apply it on top. Okay, you have to gently apply it on top so that the mixture doesn't enter the hair, for it to touch the hair and then affect it, because when it does that, you're going to be having your hair, the knots of your hair looking very looking very goldish. Okay, so now this is what we have. Now you can see that when I lifted this, you can see the color turning, the black turning. Okay, so you have to have this brown look. When you see this brown look, it means that your knot is bleached, your knot is okay, and then you can go ahead and wash it. This is what you do to check if your closure is properly bleached or not. So make sure you don't over bleach. When you over bleach, you're going to be having this goldish color, but when you have a brown color looking like this, then it means that you properly bleached it. It's very difficult when you over bleach. It's rather better to under bleach than over bleach. Now we're here at this point, we're washing the closures. You have to wash the closures. You have to treat your hair like you're treating your natural hair. Okay, so like you saw, we applied the shampoo, and then next will be the conditioner. So when you apply it gently. You always make sure that you are combing from the ends before you comb from the top. Okay, then you can have a very good outcome. Now as you can see, the black closure bleached very well. It came out really good, but with the green one, it over bleached a little bit because I was recording a video for you guys and I applied the mixture to it first before applying it to the black. So as you can see, you see that now the color of the knot, the grid matches with the skin, and you can see that the green one is over bleached. So make sure you don't over bleach your closures. Now next, we're going to be sewing the closure to the wig, your cap. Okay, so you have your cap, you take it out and then you place it on top of your head. Your head has to be 22. The average head size is 22. Now this is how the measurement goes. Okay, you have to measure from the bottom to the top to know where you are going to place your wig cap. Okay, so I measured 9 inches. Okay, that is the average measurements for you to know where to place your cap. But for me, I place it on 8.5 inches. Okay, that I can have room behind to be able to work with the front to nape of the wig cap. Okay, when I place it on 9, it restricts me a lot because it goes way down. Okay, so now when it comes to measurement, you need 4 important measurements out of the 6. Okay, so you need your circumference, which is the size of the client's head, you need your front to nape, and you need your nape of neck, and you need your temple to temple. So now what we are measuring is the front to nape. Okay, now when it comes to making a custom made wig as well, we have the average size. So if you don't get the opportunity to measure your client's head, or she doesn't know how to measure her head, or she's not able to send it to you, you have an average measurement that you can use. So a lot of people will have a 22 head size. So that is what we're using. That's the head we're using, the cock head we're using. And the front to nape, you saw me measure the front to nape, and then the the temple to temple as well is what we just finished doing. Now we're measuring the nape of neck. The nape of neck, we're using 4.5. So you fold your tape measure into two, from 1 to 4.5, and then you can measure it like so you're seeing in the video, and then you are good to go. So as you can see, when I was measuring, you can use the middle line in between the cock head to be able to measure your head accurately. Okay, so even in the bottom, I'm using the middle line there, okay, as your point of contact, as your point of measurement, and then the front too, you use your middle line. Now when you're done measuring, you need to make sure that you're going to put together all the excess that you have in your cap to be able to sew it, and that will help you to be able to make a custom made wig for your client. Okay, you don't need to have any bump behind your measurement or behind your cap. No bump at all. Like, it has to be flat. So when you rub your fingers behind it, it should be flat like so. Okay, some people like to sew the excess at the back. Okay, but now it's time for us to sew the excess that we had from the wig cap. Okay, now you put your thread together, you fold it into two, and then you put it in your needle, so you get like a 4 thread lines. Okay, you get 4 thread lines, and you start to sew. Now when you start sewing, you need to sew about 3 steps before you continue, just to secure your sewing. So that's what you can see me doing. So we're going to be sewing all around of the excess that we got. Okay, when you sew the front, you're done, you continue and then sew the back as well, like you're seeing, and then you make sure that everything is neat. Your wig cap is neat. If you have any questions up until this point, you can ask me. Okay, anytime you can feel free to ask me. When you sew it, you come down to the end, you make sure that you secure the end as well, and then you tie it, and then you can move to the next step. Now with the next step, we're going to be putting our closure on top of our wig cap. So you can see how neat this looks. Okay, this is very neat, so that when you're done sewing, the interior of your wig cap will be very neat. As you can see, I'm measuring the closure. You fold your closure into 2, and then you get your middle from that. If you want, the closures with this is a 4x4 closure. So when you measure it, you measure your 4 inches, and then you can mark the in between, 2 inches in between. Okay, so that's what I've done right there. And then you can put it, like I said, the middle line should be your point of direction. You put it on the middle line, and then you bring your closure a little forward. So when you bring it a little forward, it should give you, like, let's say maybe half an inch. Okay, and then you can pin it down, and then you come to the back, and then you pin the back down as well to the middle line. Okay, now when you're done with that, you come back to the front, and then you pin your front down. You pull it, but don't pull it so much. Okay, just let it be accurate, and then you pin it down, and then you go to the next step, the back. With the back, you have to pull you see, when I didn't pull it, it wasn't straight. So with the back, you have to pull it. You have to pull the ends to be able to have a flat outcome. You do the same thing to the other side, and then you pin it down as well. So you pull it, and then you pin it down. Make sure there's no space in between this that you've done. So you braid it, and then you can give you the space to sew around the closure when you're ready to with the needle before you can go to the sewing machine. Right, so now we are done placing the closure onto the wig cap. So we're going to sew it. We're going to hand sew the closure onto the wig cap before, when we transfer it to sewing it on the machine, we would seal it with sewing round the closure and the wig cap. Now, so here is how you go about it. You don't want your thread showing, okay? So you see where I started from the thick part of the wig cap, so that part of the ends of the thread will not show when you start from the front of your closure, rather. So yes, so you hide your thread from starting that way. And then, so when you're sewing, you have to secure it. You sew it about three on a row right at the beginning before you continue sewing the rest of your closure onto your wig cap. So you do exactly that. So you sew round the wig cap from the beginning to the other side of the closure, and you make sure that you're sewing it very neat. When you're sewing and then you realize that your thread is becoming bumpy, or it's coming together, it's giving you that vibe, all you have to do is make sure that you just pull the thread very well. You open it into two, and then you pull each of the sides to give you a neat work. If it's your first time doing this, you'd realize that it will take some time, okay? It's just normal with everything. When you're doing it for the first time, you find it a little bit difficult, but as time goes on, you get a grip of it. So don't be worried, or don't be discouraged, or don't think that you can't do it. You can do it. You just have to take time and then go through the process. So you like I said, you sew, and then you come to the other side of the closure, and then you do the same thing like you did in the beginning of the other side. So when you're done over here, you sew it about 3 times, and then you let it go through the thick part and you tie it. Okay, you see how neat the sewing looks. Please, you make sure that your work is always neat. If not, it might give you issues when you're done with the whole wig cap, or it might not give you issues. You finish with it, but then you realize that your wig cap is not neat, like the inside, the interior is not even neat. Okay, so that's how you go about it. So next, we will be drawing our guidelines. Okay, one thing I want you to know, guidelines are just to help you sew your bundles onto your wig cap. So it doesn't have to be like perfect, okay? You just need your lines, you need your guidelines, but it has to be accurate. So you place your tape measure right from where your closure ends to the bottom part of your wig cap, and then you measure. Now it depends on your bundles that you have, whether it is 2 bundles or 3 bundles or more. Okay, that will help you know the intervals that you're going to give in your guidelines. When you have just 2 bundles, you need to be calculative. Like, you need to make sure that, okay, maybe you can use 2 inches intervals, and then after sewing, when you have any extra inches, then you can sew it in between where you feel like, okay, that place has a bit of space there. So when you start, you have to make sure that you cut off like a 1/2 inch. That's what I just did from the wig cap before you start your intervals measurements, because it helps you to have some of the hair below, so that the end part of your hair doesn't look empty. Now I'm using 1.5 intervals for this particular wig cap, okay, because the bundles that I have is not too small. It's 2 bundles, but the length is a bit long, so 1.5 intervals will work. Now, after this last line that I'm about to draw, okay, the top part that will be left, you can't leave it like that. You have to divide it into 2, because the top part of your hair can't be looking faint and empty. If not, you'd see, when you wear the wig cap, you'd see that there's some space there and the hair will not cover properly. So that's why you have to divide that into 2, okay? So now when you're done doing that, you draw the rest of your lines. Now, when it comes to drawing the rest of your lines, you don't draw it like very straight. You have to slant it a little bit towards the end. You slant it a little bit towards the end. If not, when you get to the top part, you won't have room to draw the rest of your lines. Do you understand? Yes. So That's what I'm doing right then. Then you do the same thing to the other side. And then when you're done, you take off your tape measure, you take the pins off, and then you put the lines together and you're good to go. Right, so everything is looking good, neat and accurate. So this is why I like to use the chalk instead of the Sharpie permanent marker, because the chalk helps you to correct any mistake. When you're drawing your lines and you make any mistake, you can always clean and then draw it again, because both sides has to be the same. Hope you understand this whole process so far. Okay, make sure you check the next video for part 2. This is just a random video to give you information. This tutorial was actually filmed back in 2023 for my online class, but I thought, why not share it here on YouTube for anyone who wants to learn. It's free, you guys, of charge. It's been sitting in my gallery, so I thought it's too valuable not to share. And so this is a full step-by-step closure wig tutorial. I didn't leave anything out. If you follow it well, you can actually start making your own wigs. And so leave a comment to appreciate and click to follow.